All right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing this last day of August? My goodness, this month has just disappeared way too quickly. So I hope everyone's doing fine. Hello, Cinnabon Bunny and Kapla, Bird of Prey 5. Good to see you guys around. I have had I've had a hilarious weekend. It started off on Saturday with me getting a new desk, which is what you see going all fuzzy over here for some reason. But I started off doing that, and it's always fun to move things around in the office because then I got to take down all my equipment and get it put away safe so I can take down the old desk and bring in the new desk. And this desk is a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be. It takes up the vast majority of my office space here. But it works. It works just fine. And I just noticed that I got a little, I never noticed this. I have a little logo right here, a little Life with Matthew logo. Isn't that neat? It also just so happens to be completely covering me up. So whatever. We'll just scoot me a little bit like that. Whee! Okay, so chapter 13. We just got into the next little bit of Call of Cthulhu here, in which we found out Sarah is not quite as innocent as we'd kind of been thinking she was. Like, it seems like maybe she wasn't just doing things and happened to summon a dimensional shambler, but maybe she's actually a part of the cult. One way or the other, she is fully integrated into the cult now. Like, something happened, it was the last straw that broke the camel's back, and she's fully gone over to the cultist side. So with that said, we are now trying to cross over the island and find her, and I'm assuming either kill her or rescue her from the insanity. We'll see which way it goes. But it's definitely taken a shift from being like a mystery game where we're piecing things together into being a shooter. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But let's go ahead and enter the madness and see what scene they have waiting for us as this chapter opens up. I'd laugh if this became a platformer.
Shall be free. Sarah is with those bastards. I gotta find her quick.
Okay, there we go. I'm in control. So, one of the things that people complained about this game when I was looking at it online is that it
Locked.
They enjoyed the first part of the game, which I think we've kind of wrapped up the first part here, where it's a lot of investigating and you're going to make choices and all that good stuff. And then they complained that the second half of the game was a bunch of shooting going on, and it became more like a first-person shooter and less of a Cthulhu mystery game. And I actually, I haven't played too much of the Cthulhu tabletop stuff, but I've quickly discovered that that's how the standard adventure goes. That you start off the game
and a hook,
and you do a lot of investigating.
Use that to hold the reservoir back.
Okay, I don't know what it's talking about, but there's a reservoir that needs to be held back. Awesome. So a lot of the game is the first part you do investigating, and then at the end of the game you have a lot of action. A lot of your characters die. A lot of your characters go insane, and that seems to be the way to end. So I really don't know what they're complaining about with saying that this game is so different, because it's really not. Let's see. Go ahead and fill up my lantern, and nothing to show on the whalers. So I get all the desk stuff moved on Saturday, and throughout while I'm trying to do this, I have a client calling me. Because he's having a hard time getting things done. We have this conveyor belt set up, and he wasn't able to get one of the sub conveyor belts started up. So I'm talking to him, and remember, I'm not an electrician at all. I do electrical stuff as a hobby, but I'm not any sort of master electrician or anything like that.
Fuller was a crew member too. Interesting.
Let's see. Wednesday, June 23rd, 1847. 35 degrees north, 53 degrees west. The morning is biting cold. The crew made us work hard. Half my crew is dead. I've never seen such a thing. I don't even know how to describe what happened. It's as if the creature was talking inside our heads. Some of my men went crazy and jumped overboard. This thing is not a whale. It's far bigger. I don't even know how to describe it. It practically gutted our ship with these tentacles. I don't know how my harpoon finally pierced the skull of this monster. The crew is in a sorry state. Fuller looks after the injured, but some will not recover. Neat. Okay, so I'm not an electrician. I do electrical stuff as a hobby, and he's calling me up just non-stop throughout the day, talking about how the main conveyor belt, it's not starting, and then these sub-conveyor belts, they also aren't starting. So I'm trying to walk him through troubleshooting. I'm like, look, I programmed the system, but I wasn't involved in the electrical work. Everything I'm telling you right now, take with a grain of salt, because I'm not an electrician. And he was a master electrician that I was talking to, I believe. At the very least, he was a journeyman, if not a master. And so finally he's like, look, I'm not saying it's your fault, but it was working before you did your programming yesterday. Because I was out in Cisco, Texas on Friday, which is only about an hour and a half away, no big
I'll
deal.
be lucky if it's still sharp enough.
And then today, or yes, on Saturday, he was out in Marshall, Texas, which is, like a 3+ hour drive from me.
It mentions the Leviathan, how it drove the sailors mad.
Okay, so now we're at 37 north, 63 west. The whole crew has descended into madness. They speak of dreams, visions of a nightmare city, and of a sleeping god. Madness! I locked myself in my cabin. I won't be able to hold out for too long. Fitzroy has 12 men on his side. They sacrificed everyone who tried to stop them to the new god. I beseech you, Almighty God, to have pity on our souls. This will be my last prayer. I can hear them whispering. And so he's just refusing to believe that I haven't caused him issues. Because the way it works is you have your main electricity come in, and we deal with 480 volts in 3-phase for these big motors. And let's see, how do I look at here? Okay.
This should stop the cart from moving. This should help me get the tank swinging.
Okay, I'm gonna bust this open, I see. And then so it goes from there, where it comes in, and goes into a distribution box, so we have, several lines coming off the 480, just like your home. Your electricity comes in, it goes into a circuit breaker box.
Doesn't work.
Which splits everything.
I need something to cut the rope to release the tank against the door.
Splits everything around. And then from there it goes into each device's circuit breaker, just again like your home. And then we actually have one more step where it goes into what's called a contactor. And the contactor allows me to control whether or not this motor is running using 24 volts instead of having to open up the high voltage side, risk being blown up from dust in the air, and just having to worry about all that sorts of stuff. So it's really important that these contactors work, and they weren't turning on at all. And so I'm talking to him like, look, man, I don't control the contactors, you do. It is a constant 24 volts going to this. We could have my automation equipment control it, but we chose not to. So I'm sorry, but there's nothing going on here with the motor that could be causing it not to let the contactor turn on. But he was swearing left, right, up, down, that no, you're wrong. That the reason it's not turning on is because of something I did. So finally I'm like, look, I'm just going to have to drive 3 hours out there and show this guy, this electrician, how electricity works so that I can get on with my day.
Volume of the Reverend's wife's diary.
Okay, these are the last entries of the pastor's wife. Her husband ordered his faithful to come together for a final ceremony in the honor of the Leviathan. She fears that the pastor will ask them to sacrifice themselves to this abomination. She tried to escape. This is probably why her body was found in a cave under the mansion. But he's refusing to believe me. No, he's like, no, it's your fault. You uploaded something to the VFD,
Looks
and now
like
the
a page from a log
VFD is
from
stopping the contactor from
1847.
turning on. So I'm being very gracious this whole time. Let's see. So we're starving. The fish seems... Oh, this was the first log entry. We found 2 and 4 already, so here's number 1. We're starving. The fish seems to have deserted these waters. If I don't quickly find an answer to the crisis, Fitzroy will set off a mutiny. Each day, more and more men believe in his tales of a miraculous catch. Merciful God, help me. And then Wednesday, we sighted an enormous whale further to the south, the biggest we've ever seen. Fitzroy keeps telling the men that this is the miraculous catch he promised them. We will catch it and bring it back home to feed our families. And then, of course, we find it, and then the crew starts sacrificing people. Neat. Okay, so he's refusing to believe me just absolutely completely. And I know that I'm not going to have any rest until I drive 3 hours down there and show him, without any shadow of the doubt, that there's no way that my stuff is causing anything that he's seeing. That's keeping the contactor from clicking in. And hey, Monty, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty well, thank you. At least I am today. And so I drive out there. 3-hour drive. I finally get there, and he's standing in front of the equipment with a very sheepish look on his face. And it turns out that right before I got there, wouldn't you know it, he found out what the problem was. The problem was nothing to do with programming, because there was literally no programming in the world that could have been causing the issues he was seeing. What did being the problem, however, is that he did not have a ground wire connected to the contactor. So it had 24 volts coming in. It had what he thought was the ground going out, but that ground went to a terminal block that wasn't connected. So he had an open circuit the whole time. And I can't get down this way. Okay. So yeah, I drove out there 3 hours just for the electrician to realize that, there's no way this could have been my fault. There never was any way this could be my fault. But the whole time, I was extremely gracious to him, and for a couple of reasons. One, I have a firm rule in life that I live by, and that is never go spouting your mouth off to professionals, even if you're an equal professional yourself. And that's because no matter how good you are in your profession, there's going to be times when you screw up and make mistakes. And you never want to be in a situation where you've been spouting your mouth off about how there's absolutely no way you could possibly be wrong, that the other person is wrong, and you're yelling and you're screaming and you're fighting with them, and then whoops, turns out that you were wrong. That just makes you look not only like a jerk, but an incompetent jerk. And that's something that I never ever want anyone to be thinking of me. Let them think I'm wrong all they want. People make mistakes. As long as you're good-natured about it, as long as you are putting forth the effort. Oh crap! Something's going weird with my guy. But yeah, as long as you are putting forth the effort. Oh, get out of there, man! And letting them see that you are doing your best to get the situation resolved. They'll be gracious. They're gonna go, okay, yeah, you were wrong this time. We were wrong last time. Everyone will go home happy. So that's one of my main reasons for never spouting my mouth off. The second reason is, even when you are the smartest person in the room, it pays to not let anyone know that you're the smartest person in the room. People tend to hate a know-it-all. To be quite blunt. So even when you are the smartest person, I make a rule that I never let anyone know that I'm the smartest person in the room. Just in the off chance that I am the smartest person in the room.
Sarah?
Let's see. We just found the Leviathan, it looks like. It's a stellar larval, offspring of the earth. Leviathan is seen, feared, worshipped, and named by men. It is linked by its dreams to the one who sleeps, that would be Cthulhu, and will not find rest until its divine progenitor is free. There is no greater predator on earth, and yet, this being that feeds on huge creatures will never directly attack men. It will instill fear, the dreams of Raleigh, and finally, madness, into the minds of those who choose to serve its designs. Raleigh is the home in which Cthulhu sleeps. Cursed are those who cross its path, and more cursed still those who hear its voice, because for them no salvation in death. And by the way, do I have some... Yeah, I have a lot of points I can spend. Let's see. Still not too worried about strength. Let's go ahead and round out my investigation ability here. I'm now a master at investigation. And then... let's put a few points in my ability to find hidden things, and some more in psychology. Now, I see you saying occultism over there, Monty. Unfortunately, you cannot put in money, or you can't put points in occultism. The only way to gain skill in the occult and medicine is by finding journals and reading them. So if this is the end of the game, there's clearly a lot of stuff that I've missed through my playthrough. But I can level up the rest of this stuff. I haven't been too concerned about strength. I prefer to do things by talking it out or figuring out the brain of the other person, or just investigating it. But otherwise I would put more points in occultism. And yeah, clients can't live with them, or can't live without them, can't strap them to the front of your truck a la Mad Max and drive them through the desert in a death race to teach them a lesson. Wish you could, though. There's certainly times, and you know, I've done some work with this guy. He's a friendly guy. It's just, this time he was so very wrong on his things. And you know, he did realize that he had screwed up in the end. He was very humble. He was very abashed that he had made me drive all this way for nothing. Let's see what trippy trip I'm on now. I hear whispering.
Who is this?
The quest for truth requires sacrifice. There's no room for compassion.
Who's there?
Your stubbornness, wanting to help others who would have deserted you, is a weakness. Fate leads us inevitably to solitude, and in one's final moments, one is always alone. You can't escape it forever. It will always find its way.
Damn it!
Oh, there's someone at the door. I guess I'll go let them in. Okay.
Everything points back to the day they brought in that thing.
Keep my oil topped off. And yes, Monty, he did pay for the 6-hour round trip. Except it wasn't just a 6-hour round trip.
While the sailors were going insane, Fitzroy and the mutineers took over the ship. And
I actually
killed
stayed
the
there for a
captain.
couple hours and helped him out. Let's see, so here's a third log. Fitzroy encouraged the men all day. They're in shock and can't overcome their trauma. They say they can hear the screams of their comrades turned mad. Some of them hurt themselves in a desperate attempt to stop the visions that haunted them. Others chose to embrace them. Fitzroy is one of the latter. He named the beast Leviathan because he believes in his biblical nature. I told them to get rid of it before it's too late, that this thing is not the work of God. Oh.
An old log.
Okay, and this is from the captain of the Celia. We have sailed from the island of Darkwater toward the north. Sailors say that these waters are haunted. I don't believe in these tales. It's not a good time for us. My men haven't seen the slightest trace of a whale for quite a while. If this season doesn't improve, they will no longer wish to serve the Celia, on the Celia. And then on Sunday, May 30th, we are not the only hunters here. While we were looking for prey, we found dead whales, a dozen of them drifting, their entrails exposed. They had been shred as if they had been attacked by a huge predator. It's very strange. Perhaps it is a sign from God. Perhaps if it is this good catch that we have long hoped for, we must find it, whatever the risk.
Belonging to the captain of the Scylla. The pages I found seem to be the missing ones.
And let's see, this is belief the superstitions have sometimes contributed to the development of medicine. Oh, Monty, this is one of the things that you can pick up to gain some points in the neither the occult or in medicine. And you can see I just got some points in medicine, which I'm at 54%, so still not enough to level up, but a little bit. Actually, did I have some more skill points after that last one? Let's see. No, I got nothing. Or character points is what they call it here. So yeah, I get there, and he's so embarrassed. Because he did make a big deal. He tried to be polite about it, but he made a big deal about how this is all my fault. And it is 100% my fault. And so when it turned out to be 0% my fault, he was extremely embarrassed. What is this junk?
His flesh while he's still alive.
So I did get there, and he showed that it was just the ground. Exactly like I had said, because I told him several times, I'm like, look, you got several issues going on here. The fact that this contactor isn't clicking in is your main issue. You have got to stop and figure out why this isn't turning on. Because no matter what you say, it's not turning on just because of something I did to the VFD yesterday. Oh, that's right. I have claustrophobia now because of something that happened. So if I don't get out of here quickly, I don't know what will happen. Nothing good, I bet. Still, let's get out of here. So yeah, once I was already there, I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna get the work done because I don't want to be heading back home
on the other side.
just to be having come out there in the enemy, because all day long he had been calling me up asking for help.
Learn to obey.
Oh, that's interesting. No, I don't want to talk to him. He's crazy. Yeah, so all my Saturday had pretty much been ruined anyway, from trying to help him diagnose all these problems.
Ah, finally awake. How do you feel, Mr. Pierce?
Fuller! Son of a bitch! I'll kill you!
No, I'm not even really with you. Well, to be perfectly precise, I am with you, but not in this cell.
What have you done to me?
Me? Nothing, really. See, it's one of the exquisite effects of this incredible creature.
Leviathan!
I see you already know about it. Well, shall we begin?
Begin what? Oh, is this a sleeping medicine? Everyone on the island has been, like, popping sleeping pills like there's no tomorrow. Okay, your choice, guys. 1, am I going to take the treatment? Or 2, am I going to refuse to take the treatment? Yeah, so I knew that if I didn't just get this done over with, I was going to have no rest on Sunday as well as Saturday. So finally, after he's been calling around everyone, I did head out there, and it was about 5:30 in the evening when I left. So I got there just before 9, and like I said, he was real sheepish. He showed that it was just a one single ground connection, and then everything worked exactly like I said it would be. But I'd been warning him all day that wasn't his only issue. Okay, we'll go ahead and take it. That he had a secondary issue. And this is... So I had actually been out there on Friday, like I said. And they actually moved the truck between Friday and Saturday, which is why I had to go to 2 different spots, even though it was on the same day. Ew. Okay. Okay, 1, are we going to eat it? Or 2, are we going to not eat the meat of the Leviathan? Eat! Oh gosh, Monty, you want me to become one of these squid people. Okay. We will eat the meat of the Leviathan. Nasty.
Let me take a sample from you. Flesh, blood, spinal fluids. Don't fear. I created the mythological ichor from Leviathan's flesh.
I will be taking that, thank you. Or I guess another option time. Better than McDonald's. 1, are we going to take the gun? Or 2, are we not going to take the gun in doing this? So yeah, the second issue going on, it's not letting me choose to take the gun. It's not letting me make any choice. What's going on here? Huh, that's weird. I think my game froze. Let's try starting over from the last checkpoint here. Okay, we'll try the door. Here's him.
Well, but
We're gonna skip. Sorry guys, we'll try and catch you back up here quickly. Running.
Sample from you. Don't fear.
There we go.
Fuller. I killed him.
Unnecessary sacrifice. That proves your determination.
Whoops. Okay, so the other issue beyond the contactors, when I had been out there on Friday, we have a switch that lets them choose if they want to control this conveyor belt either locally at a control panel or remotely through either graphical interface or through a just any other spot. Let's see. How are we supposed to know which door to take? Let's see here. Maybe I gotta bust something up first. So anyway, the switch everything was wrong. Whenever I said I wanted it to be controlled locally, it was being controlled remotely. Whenever I said I wanted to control it remotely, it was being controlled locally. And so I told them, like, hey, this is wrong. You need to fix it. Let's see. Ooh, neat. And then they didn't. They didn't do it at all. And so one of the other issues he had called me up about was that he wasn't able to control
Nothing's happening.
the main belt, even though the day before he had. And I looked at him like, well, yeah, you never fixed the wiring. And it turned out that there's another guy who was supposed to fix the wiring, and he just chose not to for some reason. I'm like, man, this is... It's weird when I encounter problems like that. Usually when I'm on these job sites, the clients... usually the clients don't know the sort of stuff that I know, which is fine, because if they knew what I knew, they wouldn't be hiring me to fix stuff, you know? But like, it's very rare that they like are just straight up lazy. Like, very rarely do I encounter lazy people in the line of work I do. And so it was really shocking to me that the guy who was supposed to fix the pipe, or fix the pipes, let me getting distracted by my game, who was supposed to fix the wiring, was just like, you know, screw it, I'm not going to do this. So
Nothing's happening.
when I left there the other day, he was saying that, you know, hey, okay, well, you know, in the morning I'll take a look at this, because it was about 9 o'clock when I finally left. Can I fall? Oh crap, I can. Huh. Neat. I would have thought I would have died there. Oh, okay. Different paths don't exist. I think if I'm looking at this, you see how some of them are like foggish? I think any one of the ones that are foggish don't exist. So looking out here, it looks like the third one actually does exist right here. And then it comes up like that. Whoop, nope, not quite. Almost had it. Let's try this again. Okay, so far so good. And I come across, and then I mess up. I gotta come, I see. I gotta come more this way. So yeah, the guy was like, well, you know what, I'm just going to take care of it in the morning. And then I'm like, okay, well, you know what, these conveyor belts that we're doing, initially there's a guy who was working on it, and I don't know why we randomly decided to change teams, but they did. And why don't I get you his phone number? And you can just talk to him in the morning, and he can give you the answer. Like, there's no need to try and reinvent the wheel. But he said no, that he didn't want to know how to do it. That he was going to figure it out himself. I'm like, okay, whatever, it's your choice, man. And that is one of the things about electricians that I've quickly learned in this job. They are a very prideful bunch. They know what they know, and they aren't going to let anyone else tell them how to do things. They want to figure it out themselves. Hey, John DeMarco. Hope you're doing well today. Well, I guess it's time to get out of Dodge. Whoops. Didn't get out of Dodge quick enough. Okay, yep. Oh, it's gonna make me do the cutscene again? Shoot. That took too long. I thought I was supposed to go under that, under the wall there, but turned out that there wasn't an under the wall to go through. We can get this. Okay. Run past the glowing vials. Down the stairs. Around that. Whoop. Don't burn yourself to death. They're not giving me a lot of time to work out things here. There we go. And there's all the cultists.
Yes. Fitzroy. Time to hoist the white flag. We're not gonna hurt you.
I'm kind of surprised that Fitzroy isn't all Cthulhu'd up.
I won't go without a fight. You think you're here of your own accord? Stay back, or I'll put a bullet in your head. Our supreme oracle has spoken. Follow your destiny. What? It is awakening.
John DeMarco, that's a difficult escape. Makes me think of the Krogan mines. And then he says mines, I mean. Well, sure, it's difficult to escape from a place you don't want to escape from.
You cannot escape my awareness. I followed your wanderings, your choices, your attempts to free yourself from destiny. But it is unavoidable. And as I predicted, you have come to free me. Awaken and call him.
Oh, Monty, that distortion right around here is a new desk. My old desk was not nearly as big as this one is, and I need to figure out some way to kind of keep that covered up, either by, I don't know, shifting my body slightly like so, so it's not quite as noticeable. But then I'm off center from my monitor, so I don't really like that. Or I probably need to get like some green poster board, or just a real thin piece of large green paper, and set it down right on top of here, so that it's not this big, huge distortion behind me. Okay, I finally met the Leviathan in flesh and blood. The monstrous creature submitted him to a series of ordeals, at the end of which he decided that the detective was ready to face his destiny. Pierce blew up the whaling station, and after a final confrontation with Leviathan, he passed out. Wuss. Passing out just from facing unspeakable horrors. Like, I know that Anti-Trekker has just done up like his whole office studio with, like, he's done all the walls behind him with this green poster board, and then used green gaffer tape to fill it in. I don't need to go that far, but I think that green poster board might be a good choice. I need to ask him. I need to ask him what he used so I can get some of the same. Because, like, I tried to get some green paper stuff, and it turned out the type we had on hand was like this bright neon green, like almost a fluorescent green, and that did not work with my green screen at all. So I have a darker green for my green screen. Honestly, it's almost like it looks green, but whenever I use my camera, I have to put in some blues into it. In fact, you can see that on my shirt, I got this shirt today. It is a Flash shirt, but for some reason the yellow is see-through. Like, look, that's totally see-through. Or being green screened. And so since my green screen isn't perfectly green, or the right kind of green, I had to put in a little bit of yellow and a little bit of blue into it or something. And so it kind of distorts things. Yeah, and John DeMarco, for green screens, does it have to be exactly the right shade of green, or does it work if it's close? You know, it works pretty close. Now, obviously, if you go... You want it as close to green as possible, because once you start going away from true green, it's hard to wear other colors. Like, if I wear yellows, like you see here, then it's going to look weird on the green screen. There's also some blues that I can't do.
Keep going.
My God.
This way.
Like, I do wish I had a little bit better of a green screen, but this one was all of $20, so I'm happy with it. Monty, no, the electrician I reamed out just stole his spark back. I honestly didn't ream him out. I was very gracious and kind to him, because I knew that he had already made a bit of a fool of himself.
Who are you?
And you know, in his defense, he's like the third electrician to be working on this project, and none of them have ever made any notes about how it's supposed to be wired.
Where am I?
So even though this is like the 5th version of this that we've done, no one has had time to make a diagram. As soon as it's finished being made, it's shipped out to the field and never seen again.
The miraculous catch was a trap. Leviathan wanted to be found. To our fallen crew members, they have given their lives for a greater purpose. The last name added is that of Charles Hawkins. I'm willing to bet that they killed all the survivors of the miraculous catch.
Monty, Sparkies are a nightmare. I do as much as I can myself, but they always do something. Is that your name? Is Sparky's what you call a general electrician?
It always comes back to the Scylla. It was where it all began.
I really don't want to get into that circle. Well, that's not a fun painting. That is a picture of me being devoured by a tentacly thing. Okay, Monty's saying that's a common name in the UK. They call carpenters chippies. What do you want to bet that's like Sarah or something?
It will soon be time, Pierce.
You are dead. None of this is real. I saw you dead, as I see you now. Am I crazy too?
You survived. Don't you understand? You couldn't die. You will stay alive until you've fulfilled your destiny.
No.
Look at me. Look at me, Pierce. Dare tell me that you still don't believe it.
Okay, option 1, we're going to ask Marie, who was the nurse, I want to say. What are you doing here? So that's 1, what are you doing here? 2, we're going to ask her something in the Cthulhu language. Or 3, we're going to tell her that she's nothing more than an illusion. And as you can see, the second option was unlocked because I think we're crazy enough for it to be unlocked. And the third option is unlocked because we have high enough skills in investigation. And Monty's saying also, don't confuse a chippy with an IE with chippy with a Y. One is a skilled trade and the other is a shop. Also, try and pronounce it. You know, if they gave me anything more than generic symbols, I would absolutely try to pronounce it. But I'm afraid I don't have a guide on how kind of sideways Klingon symbol with a dot and or an exclamation mark going through it is supposed to sound. Yeah, we gotta vote for one. What are you doing here? You're quite dead.
This is madness.
I'm here to guide you.
You mean like the voice?
Don't you feel him?
But it can't be. He's gone.
You're mistaken. He's still inside of us.
See, she can hear him as well as you can. She's one of us.
It's not just your life that is at stake.
So is the truth
Many
on our
men and
side
women have sacrificed
not?
themselves for this moment.
Colden!
You will not deprive them of their hope of a better life.
I saw what Leviathan did to Ford. We will all die like him.
His life was written well before it started. It was not predetermined that he lived to see the call. But you? Yes. It is your destiny.
Okay, one, we'll say something to her in Cthulhian, or two, we'll say, spare me your fairy tales. And John's saying, I was just checking out StreamYard, and they are, they say that you can now rearrange your guests by clicking and dragging. That's pretty cool. Kind of about time, to be honest. There's a lot of weird things about StreamYard. Like, I honestly wonder how long they've been around. The price tier they're at almost makes me think that they've been around for a very long time. But what they offer, one, isn't worth the price they're charging you for. But two, seems almost like a really new and very basic level of service. I still like them. It's kind of this odd mismatch, you know? Okay, let's say something in Cthulhian.
This painting. The investigation. I understand now. Like you, I was called here by a higher power.
Yes. All your choices had the sole purpose of preparing you for the final decision.
I must make a choice.
Not just make a choice. The right choice.
Not yet, but soon. We have one more thing to accomplish.
What is it?
I must take you to
Wait,
Sarah Hawkins.
am I the
our
truth?
Oracle.
Well, because just now, the truth said, what is it? But at the same time, I'm pretty sure I was supposed to be the one speaking. So is the truth just me? Oh yeah, another choice. Again, we can say, and Montessori saying I vote one. Yeah, one is we do the Cthulhu language, and two, we ask where Sarah Hawkins is, the Oracle. And Daniel's Hot Topics. How you doing, Daniel? He says The Good Son was a creepy movie. They never explained why Henry was so evil. Yeah, so for those who are like, what is he talking about? I do have a Discord server, and the link for the Discord server is down in the description. At least it should be. If it's not, let me know, and I'll add it there later. I mean, we got 2 votes for 1. And
Sarah,
on our Discord server,
I feel her calling me.
Daniel was mentioning, or did a link
You
to
have
the
one
Nostalgic
last thing
Nerds
to accomplish.
review of The Good Son.
Please. I can't do it.
Do you understand what it is?
She has already fulfilled her mission. Worry about your own.
No. No.
No one can fight your fate. Neither them nor you.
The Good Son was a movie starring Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood, in which Macaulay Culkin was just a horribly evil child who killed his brother and was trying to kill his cousin at one point, trying to kill his mom at one point. You kind of wondered if he was out to kill his sister at a couple points. It was a crazy, weird movie. But like he was saying, they never really explained why he was evil. I think that was kind of the point, that sometimes you just have an evil kid. Like, no one really likes to think about it. We always want there to be a reason, like the kid was abused, the kid was in a bad household, the kid didn't get the attention or wasn't raised in the right environment. We want there to be a social or emotional trauma reason for kids being evil. But I've done a lot of work with kids through my life, and the honest truth is, sometimes you have kids who
What happened to me?
really exemplify the fact that we're all born
Sarah.
sinners.
She is the
And,
oracle. She will know what to do.
That certainly doesn't mean like they're beyond redemption or anything like that. These kids I've dealt with so many kids who were just not that level of evil. I mean, they different, like, weren't out to kill their siblings or anything, but they were evil kids, and they ended up coming around. Sometimes all a child needs is some a different. They do need a different environment. Sometimes it's not the environment causing them to be evil, but the environment certainly does help them to kind of continue that pattern. It perpetuates the pattern of evilness within them. And then on the other hand, I've certainly had met kids who you look at them and you go, this is the poster child for someone who should be a little sociopath. And they're the sweetest kids around. It's definitely an interesting thing. And I say I've done a lot of work with kids. I've spent about 20 years doing children's ministry of various ages. Primarily, I've worked in a thing called Cubbies, which was a kind of a Sunday evening program at the church, where while their parents went to the main service, it was a structured environment like the Boy Scouts, and you get to do activities, and we do a Bible story and teach them Bible verses as well, help them to memorize the Bible. And it's sad, but there are times where, I mean, these kids who came, I knew that I was the only person all week long. Myself and, of course, the other leaders who were there with me, but we were the only people all week long who showed these kids any sort of positive feedback for their lives. And they were sweet kids. And then there were other kids that I knew they came from good households. I knew their parents loved them. And man, they're just little hellraisers.
Reality as you know it stops here.
None of this makes sense.
Go. She is waiting.
Monty's saying that also a chippy is a fish and chop shop. My local one does the best chips I've ever had. And by chips, you're talking about what Americans would be calling French fries, I do believe. I at least know that level of British terminology.
Mr. Pierce, I was expecting you.
Fuller, you died in front of my eyes.
Don't jump to conclusions. Is there not the tiniest spark of a scientific mind inside of that detective skull of yours?
What abject substance did you use to turn her into an empty shell?
Abject substance. The serum extracted from Leviathan's oil bestows the power of life. To me, my body is nothing but the mortal vessel of my conscience. To you, it contains more answers and secrets than your insignificant mind can grasp.
Huh. Monty's saying, yeah, like a French fry, but much bigger. Yeah, we have those. Like, I wouldn't call them a potato wedge. It's still very much the basic French fry design. But yeah, I know what you mean by bigger than certainly bigger than a McDonald's French fry.
And yet, here you are. You never give up.
That is not you. Not anymore.
Never give up.
Not since
Never
your
surrender.
disappearance on the docks.
Detective. So easy to fool you. So eager to rush to the rescue of a woman in distress.
You won't make me regret having tried to save people. I did what I could. Even for Colden.
Your efforts to change your destiny, although in vain, make you worthy of the fate that is yours. The day has come. You will be asked to choose.
Okay, so on the subject of asking to choose in video games, I'm sure most people here are aware of, if not the specific ending of Mass Effect 3, the at least the Mass Effect series. And I'm even kind of going out on a limb here and saying that you're more or less aware of the tragedy that was the ending of Mass Effect 3, where you were told to make a choice. You got to pick between one of three lights, and then basically it was practically the same outcome no matter what you chose. Like different things happened, but it was a very lackluster ending.
Wife, life, destiny.
You forsook your right to a normal life the moment you chose power over humanity. No one wants to see such an unbearable sight.
You don't have the slightest idea of what you speak, of what I've been through. I have sacrificed my life to the one who sleeps. My marriage, my family, my own flesh. Why didn't Sarah choose me? Why is it your damn face on her painting?
Ooh, someone's jellies. So one of the things I think I would really enjoy in a game, I'm going to say this before I cue the next cutscene here in a second, is a game that's full of you getting to make choice after choice after choice after choice. And then in the final moment, when usually the video game, it gives you that last choice for the game. Like in Fable, it was, do you throw away the sword of eons or aeons, or do you kill your sister and get like all the power in the universe? I would like it where the last choice you don't get to make at all, where the game actually looks at all the choices you've made throughout it, and the actions of the whole game dictate how the game ends. I think a lot of people would see a moment like that and be really upset that they were denied that last choice. It's just, I kind of don't like it when I've made all these horrible choices in a game, and then I'm still able to choose like the white hat ending, or I've made nothing but good choices throughout a game, and then I'm able to make the black hat ending. I'd kind of like a game that's like, hey, you know what? You've made your choices. Now it's time to lie down and face the consequences. Maybe if I had gone like a true neutral route, I'd get to choose one or the other. But even then, I think it'd be more fun if like the neutral route was the worst outcome possible, where neither did you destroy the world but become the emperor over the destruction, nor did you save the world. It's like, well, you know what? You didn't make a choice, and through your non-action, the worst possible outcome has come. Kind of playing into the middle of the road fallacy, where which the middle of the road fallacy is the logical misbelief that whatever is the middle compromise point is, that is the morally correct choice to make. So let's cue this up here. I believe that is me. But we've talked about how much we reuse character models in this game, so it could be someone else completely.
But you already know it. I can see that you will make the right choice.
I don't know.
Your fear of the unknown and your stupid pride cloud your judgment. Quit lying to yourself and embrace your destiny. It's not cowering that brought you those medals.
What medals?
None of this is real.
I think I may have missed the medals
Trust
at the
your
beginning of the
guts.
game.
If nothing's real, what are you?
I am a projection of your mind. What remains of that instinct that pulled you out of the trenches. Don't listen to them. They're too dangerous for your tired mind.
Okay, so now my mind is splitting into different pieces. I've encountered truth, and now I'm encountering reality. And Monty's saying the choices are hamstrung in most games as they have a pre-planned story in mind and aren't good at deviating from it. That's true. I've certainly seen a lot of games that it's basically you get to choose anything, but somehow the story is the same. Which, there are a lot of games that have done a good job kind of walking that line, like Fable. I think I want to say that all three of the Fable games have been really good about giving you those three choices, or those various choices. And then, even though the storyline progresses the same way,
I'm almost there.
like, there's little things that impact it. What would you say is one of the best games where it gives you choices, and then those choices actually have an impact on the game overall? I think a game like what was that game that was huge for a long time? Undertale. I think Undertale did a fairly good job of like presenting several different options, and then having those options have a larger impact on the game at large. And Daniel's saying, I think it's possible that Henry, back in The Good Son, could have been a good person at one point, but like Michael Myers, Henry must have been possessed by darkness. They kind of make it seem that way in the game, or in the movie. He is definitely just an evil person, like the whole time. Like to the point where it's almost absurd how evil he is. Hello everyone. Lovely fog we're having. Oh, and there's Sarah doing her drawings. Stupid Sarah. Oh, and there's the librarian guy. Is he with them?
You are at last, Truth Seeker.
She was waiting for you.
You were waiting for me.
Yes. When I finally discovered the truth, I knew you would come. All this time I was fighting it, afraid of what I might discover, but I was afraid of myself.
It's coming.
What did you learn?
Listen to me, Edward Pierce, as I will deliver the truth.
I'll be interested in replaying this and seeing what different options could have resulted in like different endings. No, okay, so we can't choose the middle option because I haven't learned enough of the occult to make that one. So option 1 is the crazy language, and option 2 is me asking if she's crazy. And Monty's saying that Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 had a lot of good choices. Okay, so I bought Fallout 1 a while back ago, and I started to play it, and I think I must have just totally tanked my character development, or my character creation, because I could not get past like the very beginning of the game. Like everything I did, my character would just die. And finally, I say could never get past it. I finally like spent hours and hours and hours and was able to get past that initial little cave where the level 1 creatures were attacking you. And then after that, like, I don't know, I had a horrible character. I really messed up in the design of it. So I actually never finished Fallout 1 and 2. Daniel's Hot Topic saying BioShock 1 and 2. Ooh, that's true. In fact, you know what? We might be doing a playthrough of BioShock 1 at some point. BioShock 1 is a ton of fun. And we got some votes for Crazy Language. Here we go.
I have seen things. Strange and horrifying, but always true.
Will you trust my words?
No.
Yes.
One man only, prepared by the trials and revelations, holds the power to change the world. Because I saw you in the dreams I share with my God. I recognize you for what you are, a truth seeker. One of the rare humans who is able to perceive fragments of his mind.
Yes, yes.
I feel the truth in your words.
Okay, they should have laid that plot point down a whole lot more in this game. If this is going to be what the truth seeker is.
Pierce, help me!
There's always that one guy singing Happy Birthday way too loud. Hey, we might be doing a playthrough with Bioshock 1 at some point, just for the fun of it. So, amazingly, I played through Bioshock 1 only within the past maybe 2 years. And I did not have the ending spoiled for me. So when I got to the ending, it was fantastic. I had so much fun with that. And, of course, you know, being a parent, the only time I was able to play it was in the dead of night. And that made the whole game a lot more fun, because it's really the ambiance, the right atmosphere to play in the dead of night. Okay, so am I going to perform the counter ritual, or am I actually going to summon Cthulhu? So 1 is the counter ritual, 2 is summon Cthulhu. Okay, we're gonna do the counter ritual. Oh, sorry, Daniel. I clicked it too soon. I would have done a coin flip. I do remember playing through Bioshock 2. I honestly don't remember how it ended. I have never played Bioshock Infinite. I kind of had the big twist at the end ruined for me. And I heard a lot of negative reviews about it. So I never had any interest to play Bioshock Infinite. Dedicated to the founder of the Chaosium. Aww. Chaosium are the copyright holders of the Cthulhu role-playing game. And, yeah. Apparently that's it. Let's see if we can't load up and see what it looks like if we summon Cthulhu now. Or if there isn't some sort of post-credit scene here. Like this, right here. Watch this turn out to be like Fuller or something.
We doubled the dosage as you asked us to, Doctor.
Good.
Ah! It is Fuller. Nice. Very nice. And that is one of the cornerstones of the Cthulhu mythos, is even if you actually end up defeating him, there is no true winning. That there's always going to be the next batch of cultists. There's always going to be the next batch of people trying to worship him. And even if you manage to defeat them, you can have people who accidentally stumble onto Cthulhu and release him without being cultists, without ever meaning to. But the first novel that really gained him popularity, H.P. Lovecraft wrote, The Call of Cthulhu. That's exactly what happened. That the cultists had been killed off, and we thought the world was safe. And then some ship randomly lucked into the island and released Cthulhu from his slumber, and they barely made it away. Okay, let's run through this again real quick here, and we're going to summon Cthulhu. And Daniel's Hot Topic is saying that he's so excited. Section 31 is coming, and Kurtzman says it's not what we think it is. I'll be interested. I'll be honest, Daniel. I don't have a lot of interest in seeing a Section 31 Trek show. Like, that side of Star Trek isn't something I really am interested in seeing. Mainly in part because I feel like Section 31 is supposed to be the evil side of Star Trek, and Picard and Discovery, and to a much lesser extent, even Lower Decks, have all kind of gone around this idea that the Federation is evil. where it used to be that the Federation were the good guys. Okay, so we're going to perform the ritual this time. So, I kind of feel like we've already seen... Like I kind of feel like Discovery may have worked better as a true Section 31 show, which is almost what they were doing at first. I mean, yeah, they had the badges what was his name? Volk and Tyler had the super secret police badge that everyone recognized at a glance. But I do feel like Discovery would have worked better as a Black Ops Star Trek show than as just the next iteration of Star Trek. That said, I'm still not interested in seeing that dark side of Star Trek. One of the things I'm really enjoying about Lower Decks is that it is that Star Trek, or the Federation specifically, are good guys. Yeah, the mom's a bit of a antagonist against, not Boimler, against Mariner. But she's almost a passive antagonist. It's becoming much more... Like in the first episode, I thought for sure the Upper Deck people were going to be the antagonists. That's how they wrote the script. And much more, it's becoming less that the Upper Decks people are bad, because we've seen the Cap Doctor be very friendly. We've seen the Bajoran Security Chief be very friendly. We've seen the engineering staff be very friendly. So it's more and more becoming just that Mariner has a problem with the Captain. And more it's that Mariner's in the wrong for having this antagonistic relationship with her mom. So I am very glad that Lower Decks is kind of being a return to form for Star Trek, and that it is showing the Federation in a good light again. That said, I just don't believe we will ever see a Section 31 show. I know we've been hearing rumors about Section 31 for, man, how many years now? And I just don't feel... Like, obviously, 2020, all bets are off. Things that were supposed to be starting to be recorded have been indefinitely postponed precisely because no one is allowed to be within, like, 6 feet of each other. And that makes it hard to record a TV show. So, you know, grain of salt there. But it just seems like... It seems like Section 31 is always going to be promised. It's always coming, and it's never going to arrive. And also, that was a great shot of Cthulhu right there at the end. Okay, and we will escape out of this again and see the after credits cutscene here. Okay, so we have all the cultists going mad and killing each other, which, like, when you see Cthulhu, it just drives you insane. There's something about this Eldritch Beast from Beyond the Stars that's a lot like, in Picard, the Witch's Coven, the Romulan Witch's Coven. That whenever they touched the PVC pipe of knowledge, they would go crazy. Yeah, the Zot-Vash. That's it, John Marco. This is the Zot-Vash after initiation. And yeah, that's what seeing Cthulhu will do to you. So, am I also going crazy right now, or am I... It's hard to tell... It's hard to tell if I'm gone crazy or if, like, I'm trying to fight these guys because they're evil. I think I'm crazy too. Yeah, if in doubt, I'm crazy. Yeah, I think so. There's that toy soldier again. Monty's saying, I think a Section 31 show would work if it was set during the Dominion War and they were more like the OSS and OSI of World War II. Maybe. I don't know. I think a Section 31 show could work. I don't think a Star Trek Section 31 show could work, if you get my difference there. The difference being that I think if you attach the Trek name to it, I don't think it works in Star Trek. I think that if you give me a sci-fi show about a black ops organization working for a Federation-like group, yeah, I think that would work, and I'd have fun with that show. It's just, I like the Federation to be the good guys. I like the Federation being the people you're supposed to root for. It's just, we don't get that anymore. Like, especially in Discovery and Picard, the Federation, they aren't people you root for anymore. And I'm not sure if that's just like the current political climate in America and kind of the world all over, I guess, but especially here in America, where no one trusts. It's not that we don't trust the government anymore. It's that we have an openly antagonistic relationship against the government now, where the government is the one that is in charge of systemic everything, which is nonsense. It doesn't matter who the president is. The president can't make me be systemically anything. The fact that there is systemic anything in America isn't the government's fault. It's the people's fault. And we've been trying to push that blame off of ourselves and onto a government entity. And I'm sorry, that's not it. I'm not even sorry. No, I'm not sorry. You know what? Jim Crow laws, horrible things, only worked because people obeyed them. At any time, a business could have chosen to not obey Jim Crow, and they didn't, because people are the ones who support systemic things, not the government. But the modern society here in America is pushing off responsibility from ourselves onto anything else. So it's the organized religion's fault. It's the government's fault. They're the ones promoting systemic stuff. And I feel like that's leaked into our Star Trek. That now we see that the Federation is responsible for systemic whatever that was going on with the Romulans. And I'm tired of it. I want the Federation to be the good guys. And I guess kind of a lot of this may go back to, if y'all know the Broadway play Wicked, about the Wicked Witch of the West, and it turns out that she wasn't actually wicked. Starting with that play, more and more we saw the trope of what if the villain was actually a good person. And we saw that with the Maleficent movie and Maleficent 2, even for some reason. They decided they needed a second cash grab on that. And I'm done with that trope. It was an interesting thing to look at, but not every bad guy has to be a good guy at heart. Sometimes it's okay just to have a bad guy out there, And I don't want Federation to be that anymore. I want the Federation to be the good guys again. I want us to be rooting for them. And that's honestly a big reason I'm enjoying Lower Decks, is because the Federation, as the series progresses, it is becoming less and less that Mariner is the end-all and be-all of everything, and more that Mariner is actually kind of a problem. And that when the rules and regulations are followed, and people do their jobs, and people read mission reports and mission briefings, that we actually see good things happening, and I'm really enjoying that it's going toward that. So, which is a very long-winded way and kind of a ranty way of me saying I wouldn't necessarily want a Section 31 Star Trek show, Black Ops show, sci-fi. I'd probably have fun with that. But more importantly, I still think that I think it is a brainstorming idea that they're trying to see how people respond to. I don't think they have any scripts planned. I don't think they have a plot outlined. I think that it is 100% smoke and mirrors right now. And until I see like a trailer, that's when I'll start to have hope. Because let's be honest, even a trailer, you can have just that idea trailer and it never go anywhere. Because, someone says the wrong thing to the wrong person, all of a sudden the studio scraps it because someone's being petty. It wouldn't be the first time it's happened, unfortunately. And Daniel's saying either for sections 31, either Giordano uses the Red Angel suit and goes back to the 23rd century and hooks up with Tyler, but something happens where they go on the run from section 31. Now, is this a plot idea that you've seen pitched out there, or is this where you're saying that you think this would be a really cool thing if they did this? And I don't see a B anywhere. If there's a B, let me know what you think the B is. I don't know, that Red Angel suit, it opens up a lot of problems for Discovery. Whenever you give someone the ability to constantly time travel, I think you create more issues than plot lines created with such a device. And a good example of this would be, if any of y'all remember the TV show Heroes. One of the main characters in Heroes, or not one of the main characters, one of the main plot lines in Heroes is that within the first episode, maybe the first 2 episodes, you have an Asian guy whose name is Hiro go back in time and warn the main character, save the cheerleader, save the world. And that's the plotline for the entire TV show. Save the cheerleader, save the world. And so you have that one instigating event of time travel. And it worked great. The first season of Heroes was just a purely, perfectly written show. Maybe not perfectly. Nothing's perfect. It was a very well-written show. Excuse me for getting hyperbolic on you. In one of the later seasons, they did a lot of time traveling, as I recall. Like, time traveling became, like, just the thing that happened. And the more time traveling that occurred, the more plot lines just got completely messed up. And it wasn't like hey, because you did this in the past, now this is affected in the future. It's just, they became too much for them to follow, and they gave up in the end, basically. So I think that is as dumb as the end of season 2 was. I think that the fact that they made it where she couldn't do any more time hops as the series ended. And remember, they said you only have enough energy for this one last one. And then she makes 11 immediate time hops. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. How I remember this happened is they literally said you have just enough for one more jump, and then she makes, 7? I guess it was 7 jumps, which was the 7 jumps you saw throughout the series. So you had one in which it was her mom, and then it turned out the other 7, it was Michael Burnham leading the people to be where they need to be. Which, okay, that was such a dumb moment, but I'm going to ignore it, because I don't want to have a brain aneurysm here. But I think they did a smart choice by saying this is your last jump. Because that means as soon as she gets where she's going, the time suit is gone. Yes, it's a neat plot device, but it's gone now. You can't use it anymore. And I think that was the right choice to make with that time suit. Because you don't want it gumming up the TV show. So I don't see Giordano being able to use the Red Angel suit. Maybe somehow they do something where, like, she ended up being in, like, the wake of the jump and went backwards while everyone else went forward. It would be a stretch, but it could work. And then hooking up with Tyler. Is this actual Tyler or is this Voke Tyler? Because that whole plot line was pretty weird. Where... Oh gosh. And yeah, John DeMarco, trying to make sense of Discovery will make your brain hurt. Yeah, so with Voke, you had... Like, I can't even say this right, because they explained it so horribly. Where you had Tyler as a human. Then you took Voke and did a mental impression over Tyler's brain. Except, they also explained that it was done... No. They said they took Voke's brain and overwrote Tyler's brain, but at the same time, they ripped out all the redundant bits of Klingon and put Tyler's body parts in Voke's body or something ridiculous like that. So I mean, it was so stupid. Like, they couldn't even explain how they did this horrible torture thing where Voke had to, like, have not just superficial surgery, but like internal surgery where all his parts were ripped out. But then, even though it was his own body, somehow they overwrote his mind onto Tyler's mind. it makes no sense. But which Tyler are you talking about there? The true Tyler or the Tyler Volk character? But even with all that all said, Daniel, I think that's an interesting idea. I just don't see where they go from there. Like maybe that's why there's no more Starfleet. I think would be where it's going. And Daniel, I missed C. I'm looking at live chat here. Okay, here we go. Or B. Giordano steals a ship from the 32nd century, goes back to the 23rd century, gives the 32nd century ship to Section 31. Now Section 31 has 32nd century tech that puts them above Starfleet. Or C, maybe Discovery at the end goes back in time to the 25th century to join Picard, and Giordano stays at the 32nd century and rebuilds Section 31 in the future where the Federation is gone. I think you're overcomplicating this, Daniel. I don't... Those are all great theories. I'd love to hear it more fleshed out than that, but like that is such a complicated plot line. I don't think any of the writers who are doing Star Trek right now would ever come up with any of these ideas. These ideas are way too sci-fi for them. Remember, the writer's staff right now, who's been in charge of Picard and in charge of Discovery. I think they have a different writing staff for Lower Decks. But at the very least, those in charge of writing Discovery and Picard are all daytime soap opera writers. They have no science fiction credentials, which is kind of important. If you're going to write a sci-fi show, you need to have written some sci-fi stuff in the past, or at least have a sci-fi mindset. And these people don't. They have a daytime soap opera drama mindset. And that works for some people. I'm glad it works for some people. I'm just saying, let's be real, they're not going to come up with any of these ideas you just put out there. I can see them doing a show about a black ops organization, and we're going to focus on one character who sees... Okay, so here's my idea. I'm assuming we're just going to throw out random things for what Section 31 could be. So here's my pitch for Section 31. First off, the Federation is evil, because that's what New Trek is. Generation 3 Trek is evil Trek, or evil Federation. So, first off, the Federation is evil. They are racists, they are phobists, they don't have the best interests of the people in mind. They're almost more of a dictatorship than an egalitarian society. And amidst this, we see Section 31 come to power. Specifically, we're going to focus on one person who seeks to overthrow the corrupt nature of the Federation. And they're going to use the organization of Section 31, because while Section 31 is the Gestapo of the Federation, they're the Tal Shiar equivalent in the Federation. You know all those standard dark organizations. So he's going to be recruited into this, kind of have the Finn moment in Star Wars, where he realizes that it's wrong to be a stormtrooper and slaughter innocent civilians. And he's going to work at rising through the ranks of Section 31. And somehow, despite being an evil organization, he is going to find that everyone he talks to in Section 31 is going to be sympathetic to his cause. Excuse me, her cause. Her cause. Because the main character will be a woman. So everyone's going to be very sympathetic to her cause. Everyone's going to love her and think that she's amazing. And that's what I think that we'll get from a Section 31 show. And let me even go out on a limb here and say that I know that we've seen advertisements for Strange New Worlds. I got low hopes for it. Based on how they presented it at the end of Season 2 of Discovery, I think that it's going to be continuing to be that Pike is not the guy in charge. He's going to be the captain, but it's going to be the crew around him that actually makes all the decisions. And Monty's saying that some comments don't seem to be showing up. Let me try popping out the actual live chat, because as you can see on the screen, the overlay only allows me to do chop chat. It does not allow me to do live chat, and there's no way to change that. But I also am looking at live chats over here in StreamYards, but it does seem like I'm missing things. So let me let me go straight to YouTube, pop out their live chat, and I'll just kind of overlay it over my overlay. So let's see, let's turn off overlay there, bring up top chat like that. There we go, guys. Now maybe I can switch that to live chat, and I will stop missing comments. Okay. So hopefully that starts getting everything there, Monty. So yeah, for Strange New Worlds, I just have such low hopes, you know? Because think about Season 2 of Discovery. I enjoyed Pike being there. I didn't really like Spock being there, simply because I feel like they wasted his character for most of the season. But when Spock became Spock, he was fun to have around. But with Captain Pike, he was in charge, and yet you notice that he rarely made any choice. Like, he'd make a choice, and then something completely opposite would happen. And of course, the opposite choice was the correct choice. Whatever Burnham decided, that was the right choice. And at one point, I think he even asked Burnham for permission to do something. Which, yes, any captain needs to be paying attention to the suggestions of his officers. No man's an island. But Pike was never really in charge, even though he was the captain. Which, honestly, I would have enjoyed just seeing Suru be the captain for Season 2. I enjoy Suru's character, and I enjoy the arc they gave him. And I kind of feel like they wasted him. But based on how Season 2 went, I don't think Strange New Worlds is going to give us anything. And when you look at the end of Discovery, and you look at how carefully proportioned the bridge crew is, yeah, I see that. I'm not holding my breath. If it's the same writers who have already done Picard and Discovery, no, we're not going to get a good show. Not a good Star Trek show, I don't think. I think we're going to get more of the messaging comes first, plot comes second. Monty's saying that Trek bioscience makes no sense at a very fundamental level. Just hand wave it as magic and move on. You know, it didn't. You know, it really didn't used to be that way. In the original series of Star Trek, it wasn't hard sci-fi, but it was at least mostly grounded sci-fi. And understand when I say high sci-fi or hard sci-fi, there are two types of science fiction, broadly speaking. There is hard sci-fi, and that's things like Isaac Asimov would write high sci-fi, where here's the science, and here is where we could see the science going, and here's some scientific principles to back that up. So even though it's fiction, it's at least plausible fiction based on how reality works. A more modern example would be Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park, Lost World, a book called Timeline. The movie was Drek, but the book was amazing. The Congo, Andromeda Strain, Sphere, prolific writer. I have most of his books. He was a hard sci-fi writer. Then you have high sci-fi, and high sci-fi is more things like almost fantasy level sci-fi. So like Star Wars would be high sci-fi. So TOS wasn't hard sci-fi by any stretch of the imagination, but it leaned more toward hard sci-fi than high sci-fi. TNG I think was the hardest of all the sci-fis for Trek. They tried really hard to give reasonable-ish explanations for why something happened. Not all the time, but most of the time. DS9 was more of a space drama, where it was science fiction, but kind of the character drama was what drove it. Voyager, oh gosh, Voyager was practically high sci-fi. Quantum was the answer to everything, and the stories were just... I love Voyager, don't get me wrong. It's just, it leaned toward the high side, the sci-fi road. So, when you say that Trek bioscience makes no sense at a very fundamental level, I'm curious which version of Trek, which series of Trek you're talking about. Because I do think at some point, I do think at one point Trek tried to be more hard sci-fi, and things would have a logical reason. Now, obviously, the season 2 of TNG finale, the clip show with Riker, Okay, that was pretty weak bioscience. I'll grant you that. But I do feel like at times they tried to be more grounded in reality. And Daniels is saying, here's an interesting idea. Remember the DS9 Trials and Tribulations? Yes, wonderful show. I loved that episode of DS9 very much. And that's the one where they ran back into the counselor from The Troubles with Tribbles, the Klingon who was disguised as a human. They didn't realize it was this guy, but he was able to use one of the orbs, the Orb of Time, to take the Defiant back in time to, was it Station K9, I want to say it was? And he hatched a plot to kill Kirk. And so the crew of the DS9 was interacting with all the footage from the TOS episode of The Trouble with Tribbles. And it was seamlessly done. They did such a good job in that episode. So in the Trials and Tribulations, what if Giorgiano is in the future, but future guy returns and sends his time agents all over the timeline to sabotage it? Again, I think that'd make for a good episode. Which, assuming by future guy you're talking about in Voyager, you had the captain of the the Paradigm. Was that the Voyager time ship? But I could see that happening for an episode. If I had an entire series revolving around having new characters jump into the past TOS shows, gosh, I just can't see that working. From a budgetary standpoint, I think fans would go crazy for it. But that's an important thing. The DS9 episode, Trials and Tribulation, was 100% fan service. It was written as a love letter to fans. And frankly, Hollywood hates its fans now. I mean, if you look at Hollywood directors, they hate fans so much. You hear people like the director who was in charge of the Joker movie, and he thinks that the comic book action stuff is just like the lowest tier of movies you can get these days. Joaquin Phoenix had kind of the same stuff to say. Relativity, thank you, John. The relativity, but so like they want our money. They make movies that will get us our money, but they think that we're idiots. Hollywood just has no respect for the fans these days. So I'd have a hard time seeing anyone making a show that was revolving around fan service for Trek fans. And to be fair, which is here's the thing. To be fair, I don't think that show would work simply because in addition to keeping existing fans, you do want a show to be gaining new fans. Because if you get the combination of existing fans and combine them with new fans, you get people to buy advertising during your show, and you get lots and lots of money. That's going to be what they look for. So I think that while you can have fan service episodes, it'd be hard to have a fan service series. I think it'd be great if someone like if fans did a series of fan films in which we jumped around and interacted with the different episodes. Like I could see that happening. It's just I don't see a production studio signing off on creating a series that was nothing more than fan service. An episode, absolutely. I'd love to see more fan service episodes. I just don't see. I don't see them going through a timeline or an entire series where they're doing that. And then Daniel was giving an example. For example, maybe Giorgiano and Tyler have to go forward in time and stop time agents from destroying the Enterprise E. And then there would be an episode where Giorgiano chases time agents and stops them from destroying DS9 and the Defiant. But okay, so again, like this sets up the. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but the time agents are Federation people. This is setting up the Federation as the villain, which I personally don't want to see that anymore. In fact, I would accept the inverse of that more readily, where time agents are stopping Giorgiano from destroying DS9 and the Defiant, where she's trying to recreate the Federation Empire from her dimension in our dimension. and we have to keep sending time agents to stop her. I could see that happening on a more plot level. It's just I can't see any executive producer signing off on that. They'd never sign off. And Monty's saying, I don't think so. Trek has always been played very fast and loose with a lot of things, but biology is the one that stands out. The engineering is also rather iffy at times. Alien biology, I'll grant you that, Monty. That in terms of like having a trill, having a symbiote in your gut. They play loose with that. The changelings, how does this work? It's an alien biology, we don't know. They play loose and fast with that, but it also makes sense from a narrative level. Like, yeah, a Klingon having two hearts. They're not human. In terms of human biology, though, I feel like they've generally played by the rules. Now, I guess let me grant you this, to be fair, that whenever we get an alien bug, an alien virus, they do play loose with the cure. But again, that makes sense narratively. Like, it's an alien virus. We're going to have to find out alien solutions. And one of the ones that jumps out at me is when in Voyager you had that giant parasite that attached itself to B'Elanna Torres, and the Doctor had to use a Cardassian hologram that was a torturer to figure out a way to get the parasite to remove itself from B'Elanna without killing it. Like he wanted to find the ethical solution of saving both the parasite and B'Elanna. And they played loose and fast with biology on that. But again, it always made sense narratively, because, that's a half Klingon with a alien parasite. So, I mean, I don't know. Engineering is rather iffy at times. Give me an example of what you mean by that. Because like I said, I gave you my breakdown on what I think is high versus hard sci-fi and where the different Trek series lands on it. I think they typically have done a good job as kind of grounding it in something somewhat reality-based. And then Daniel's going on with his ideas for the Section 39, that you could have an episode where they go back in time to Archer's Enterprise and stops Future Guy from destroying the NX-01 Enterprise, and from destroying Enterprise. So help me out here, Daniel. Maybe I'm thinking of a different guy than you are. When you say Future Guy, who are you referring to? Like, which series was he in? Because the guy I'm thinking of was the captain of the Relativity, and they had to like reconstitute his different timelines so they could prosecute him correctly. And let's see. And then Dino's saying, I want to talk more in depth about this idea on the live stream on Wednesday. But finally, Giordano attacks time agents to the 23rd century during the events of Balance and Terror. Well, I hope that you're around and we could talk about this some more. Because again, these are all fun ideas. I mean, don't get me wrong, Daniel. I think you're throwing out a lot of fun ideas. I don't think it makes sense for Giordano to be the one stopping anything bad from happening to the Federation. She is an evil dictator from another dimension. It makes more sense for her to be the one instigating these things, but stopping them, not so much. So that's where you lose me a little bit on there. But the general premises that you're coming up with are fun sci-fi ideas. I just don't ever see the current writer batch coming up with any of these ideas. Oh, it jumped. Let's see. Then Monty was saying it's always field this, field that, diagnostic this, etc. You very rarely see someone get into a broken machine with a toolkit to fix it. Isn't that some form of emitter? Where's the 23rd century spanner? No, that's a fair point. I think Anti-Trigger was actually talking about that at one point. That in the original series, you would see Kirk and Scotty climbing into the Jeffrey tubes and would be like manually connecting wires and fixing things. And then in TNG, everything was computer, run a level 5 diagnostic and try and figure out what's going on. And then, they'd have some scones and a cup of Earl Grey, and then the computer would say something, and they go, oh, we got it, we know the solution, I fixed it, when, the computer is the one who did all the legwork. But, asking the right questions is half of the Google process. If you don't ask the right questions, Google won't give you the answer. So, a little give, a little take there. But again, once you got to DS9, my goodness, O'Brien was constantly crawling all over that station, manually fixing things. And I want to say he even got upset that someone took his spanner at one point, right? Like, he opened his box and there was a tool missing from, like, it was one of those foam cases where every tool had its spot it was supposed to be. And I want to say he was upset because someone took the spanner. Maybe it was something else. But you did see that come back in DS9. Did you see it much in Voyager, though? You saw it more. B'Elanna certainly spent a lot of time crawling around the Jeffries tubes. But even then, it was more... She would be like using a tricorder to examine something that had gone wrong that was located in the tubes. Like the bioneural gel packs had gone wrong. Or, you know, something like that would be going on, and she'd be scanning it. So... Yeah, I think TOS and DS9 did the best job of having engineers actually engineer. And John is saying it's like that on TNG and Voyager, but I'd say O'Brien was much more hands-on in DS9. Yeah, exactly. And Daniel's saying, so Time agents infiltrate the Enterprise, Kirk's ship, during the Balance of Terrors, and the Time agents want to destroy the Enterprise and make it look like the Romulans did it, thereby starting a war between... But why would they do any of this? Why would they be trying to start... And I'm assuming by time agents, you're talking about Federation people. Like, what's their motivation? What's the end goal here for them to be doing this stuff? Because, like, to me, it doesn't make sense for the Federation to be going back in time and sabotaging itself, whereas it does make a lot of sense for Giugiano to be going back in time and destroying the Federation and setting up the Empire for her to rule it. In fact, that could work a lot, because she could be specifically going after events that she knows led to herself being put in power. So by attacking these key events, she's establishing the timeline that creates herself. Now, obviously, this doesn't work for anything in Trek, because by the time Giugiano was in power, Balance of Terror hadn't happened, Trials and Tribulations hadn't happened, none of Star Trek had happened. This is a prequel to TOS. But I could see that happening, where Giugiano is trying to set herself up to be the Empire again. And it could make for an interesting season, kinda. And I guess you use apple to apples. If you consider DC, what's the name of them? Agents of Tomorrow, was it? The one where it was the combination where you had Mick and Rory, and you had not Ant-Man, that's Marvel, the Atom, and you had White Canary, I want to say, because Black Canary had been killed. So if you had that group of people, you saw how one of their early seasons was literally them jumping around time trying to stop Saval, I want to say. No, Saval's Star Trek. Guys, help me out. I'm blanking on the DC character's name. Savage. They're trying to stop Savage. Vandal Savage. From coming to power. And the entire series was them jumping through time trying to do this, and they kept messing up, and it made for a good season. But all it was a season. Once they got past that season, they needed a new thing. And honestly, I stopped watching after season 2, because the whole thing, it got super politically. Like, everything was politics that, this. So it was Agents of Tomorrow and Supergirl and The Flash, Arrow. I stopped watching all the DC Arrowverse simply because it got super politics. Like, the storylines, the plot, they just threw it out the window. They said, we have a political message to talk about, and we're going to try and, ham-fist the plot around this message. And it just became garbage. So I haven't watched any of it in a long time. But it made for a good season. Not necessarily a series, though. But that'd be like the closest one I can think of Daniel's Hot Topic. Where you could have like a time-traveling series. And to be fair, they didn't interact with like past episodes from the Arrowverse. That's a high budget production thing to do. And that would really be big fan service. Whereas this was designed to be its own standalone show. Hey, LG Pixels, how you doing? Talking about the Krell? Okay, from Enterprise. Okay. And John saying, I will admit there was some unrealistic engineering. However, the matter-antimatter reactor that powers the warp core, for example, is based on real scientific principles. And that's how Star Trek initially was. Like I said, it was hard sci-fi, or harder sci-fi, where everything they were doing had some sort of grounded in reality scientific principle. Okay, the warp field bubble, that's kind of fantasy sci-fi, but it at least held up to scrutiny. Like, okay, if we're going to go faster than light, then something out there has to exist, and who's to say this isn't what it would be get us to go faster than light? So at least that had, like, yeah, it's fantasy, but at least it's fantasy that makes sense. And Daniel's Hot Topic saying that Future Guy is the guy in the shadows from Enterprise. Okay. You know what, Daniel? It has been far too long since I've watched Enterprise. I kind of feel like that needs to be my next Star Trek series to watch. I just finished watching TNG. I'm doing the week-by-week DS9 stuff with Bird of Prey 5. And I'm limiting myself only to one episode a week there, so it's going to be another 5 years before I'm done with that. But just for my own fun, I think Enterprise should be the next one to watch, simply because of how long it's been since I've watched it. And whoops, I think I just missed a call. Yeah, I did. Let me get through these chats real quick, and then I need to go return this call. Let's see. Monty's saying, John DeMarco, I'm not talking about the main hard stuff like warp drives, but it's always clean, it's always easy to fix, and it's always just one and done. Yeah, that's very Monty. You don't see a lot of, like, hey, we're having this issue on the ship, and it takes us several episodes to fix. Like, if an issue pops up, it's immediately relevant to that episode, and no other episodes usually. I think Voyager honestly did the best in that regard, that you did see kind of some engineering problems crop up over and over and over again, especially as it came to things like slipstream technology or improving efficiency. But even then, it was always kind of on the side. It never was like the plot of an episode, unless it was like, we've invented slipstream technology and it turns us into salamanders, or we've invented slipstream technology and it turns out that we're the clone from the Silver Planet. You know, stuff like that, or the Mercury Planet. But Voyager came the closest, but I do see what you're saying, Monty. And he's saying, I mean, it's never like how the flagship always seemed to be on its own. A ship of the size of the Enterprise from TNG would have a small support fleet, especially in an exploration role. You know, Monty, this is something we talked about once or twice in the pub, I want to say. Not about Star Trek, but specifically about like space in general. Like, if we were to write a hard sci-fi space show, and you had these battles going on, what would it look like to have a more realistic environment? And I think you're right, because, like, in space, we always take the example of the Navy, because, frankly, I do think space exploration is a lot like Navy exploration. Specifically, I feel like it's the most like submarine life, just from what limited knowledge I do have. Because, you know, you can't just go to the outside for a smoke. You have to be worrying about, you know, oxygen contents. You have to be worrying about, is your hull pressurized? And I think that in space battle there would be a lot of things where you can have fun with using like a planet to mask your position, to mask your approach. So I think there's a lot of fun naval type things you could do, especially with a submarine kind of slant. And I do think that it would be more interesting to have kind of like, here's your main battleship, and you have your supporter convoys, and you have some destroyers, and maybe you have a couple PT boats. Maybe they're not used all the time. Maybe they're not following you along, but maybe you get to one area and you're like, hey, you know what? This is your shuttlecraft. We need to go to this planet. We need something fast and maneuverable. And, you know, here's your PT boat that you let off the ship, and off it goes and does its stuff. And Monty's saying space exploration would be like the 17th and 18th century British Navy. Exploration is part of the military mission, not the main focus. And I do think that we're kind of missing out on that. Like, I don't know how well a sci-fi show would do focusing on that, but I personally would have fun with that. And honestly, I mentioned this on on the premiere episode for Sequest. So every Tuesday I'm reviewing Sequest with John DeMarco, and I talked about the fact that this kind of frontier underwater environment is exactly what I'd love to see done for a new sci-fi show, where humanity, we have basic colonization of our solar system down. We're going for the resources in the asteroid belt. We're even finding things on Jupiter that we can get from, but there's lots of challenges, and it's actually creating, especially in the outer rings, it's creating this environment where, you know what, once you get out to Uranus, that's a huge gap to get to. Like that distance is really large, and the distance just becomes larger and larger the further out into the solar system you go between the planets. So I mean, from Earth, it's not that far of a journey to get to Venus, but it is a pretty far journey just going from I want to say Mars to Saturn. And maybe I'm wrong with that, but I do know that the further out you go, especially Saturn to Jupiter, it's a significant increase in distance. So I could see that, you know, we're having these kind of quasi nations popping up in space around each planet, simply because, yeah, we started off and we used to be like, yeah, we're Americans and we're Russians and we're whatever have you ends, but now it's, hey, we're Jupiterians, we're Saturns, we're Venetians, you know, stuff like that. And I'd love to see kind of that a warring coming into a time where we go from peaceful exploration to we've established ourselves, and now there's starting to be some wars going on over getting the best resources. I'd love to see a sci-fi series done like that, almost like Firefly was done, except not that far in the future, where space travel is, you know, super easy and we have radar in space and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of amazing sci-fi elements we could look at, and I think you could also very easily bring a drama element in, especially if, imagine this, you have the first season looking at life from Earth, and you get to know the drama going on with that crew, and then the second season is focusing more on things from, say, the Venetian side, where maybe you have some member of the crew kind of kidnapped at the end of the first season, and he's trying to integrate himself into this new society. Maybe he does a transfer, maybe he defects, but you have that common point to keep your interest between the season, and throughout the second season you would still be kind of checking in on the main cast, but you have this huge shift where now you're really looking at the cast over here, and you're getting all their drama, and you're finding out that both sides are actually kind of good people, but they're still clashing over these resources. And in the third season, maybe everything comes to a head. So, I mean, just imagine, there are so many fun things you could do with a sci-fi series like this. And John's saying he's got to run. I got to run too here. I just keep talking because I'm having fun talking with you guys. And Monty's saying, picture Master and Commander, far side of the world, but in space. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. And I'm talking about The Expanse. This has been done already. Clearly, I need to watch The Expanse. I haven't seen any episode of it. But if that's what I'm talking about, clearly this is what I need to be looking into. Guys, I do need to wrap this up. I need to listen to this voicemail and probably call back some before the end of the workday here. But thanks for hanging out with me. And as always, until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. And take care, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please share it. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that bell icon to be kept up to date with all the new videos that I release on this channel. And as always, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.